So I hope everyone is able to see the agenda for
Yes.
this particular training. So ideally, the objective.
A little bit.
Oh, that's enough.
Yes.
Yeah. So ideally, the objective for this particular training is to just orient AMPATH stuff and all the related MOH stuff on the DWAPI tool and how to use it to extract, clean, and upload data into the National Data Warehouse. So the method, as you know, during the COVID, we cannot have a face-to-face delivery of training. So we are relying on this online environment to do virtual training. So we are going to do it partially interactive, so that because I'm sure might not have we might not work step by step with everyone, as we are going to maybe take you through the installation procedure. So we are just going to do partial illustration. We are going to take you through as you watch what we are doing, and maybe if you have questions, you can raise up your hand or you type a question in the text area. So then we are able to respond to you during the presentation. So the agenda of the day basically is to just give you a technical walkthrough on how to set up DWAPI, configure, and also do the basic troubleshooting, and also orientation on the upload procedure. How do you upload data into the National Data Warehouse? I'm sure some of you maybe might have had that experience. Then we are also going to look at the valuable materials that maybe after this particular orientation, the team can now look at and maybe get to understand these particular concepts more. Then we are going to have Kirui or Ajuang taking us through the next steps before we close the training. So we are going to have two facilitators. Leon and myself will be co-facilitating these sessions, with Ajuang being our local convener from this end. So that is basically the agenda. So I don't know if everyone else has joined, so then we could just set the ball rolling. So I think having shared the agenda, so maybe I'll wait on Kirui's direction. Then he'll tell us when to begin the actual session.
Okay, I think now at least we have enough quorum to begin. Maybe just to check up, we can begin with Wasingishu. Wasingishu can confirm they are here. We can see Vihiga. We can confirm that all counties are just here. Kakamega, please confirm you are here. You can see Benaya. Vihiga, we are here. Busia, kindly confirm. Busia team. Transoya is here. West Pokot, kindly confirm you're here. Elgeyo Marakwet, I think I saw Kisorio. Kindly call your team. Please type whether Busia is here and West Pokot. Anybody from West Pokot among the participants?
Better than me.
Victor is here.
Victor. Yes.
Thank you, Turkana. We are here, Turkana. So I think I hand over to you, Bernard. Please continue. As the teams confirm to the counties, we'll reach out to individual teams to join in from their counties. So please take it over, Bernard.
Okay, thanks for that, Kirui. So I think we'll just start off, and I think starting off, it will be good to first of all understand what this DWAPI is and what does it do, and why is it called DWAPI. So basically, DWAPI as a tool is one of the tools that is developed by Kenya HMIS project under Palladium. And the primary function for this tool is to link to the source database in our EMRs, help us to get data, and help us to do basic cleaning and deduplication and validation at the facility, then also upload this data to the National Data Warehouse. So at this point, I want to believe that we all have a fair understanding of a data warehouse, the National Data Warehouse. So DWAPI stands for Data Warehouse API. API is Application Programming Interface for those who would like to know. So it is a tool that has got those three functions that I've already stated, and it is good to understand that it is not only for picking and pushing data to the National Data Warehouse, but also a tool to help you at the facility level to clean and improve the quality of your data at the source. So, and for me, that is one of the most fundamental functions for that tool. So I know most of us here, I know I've always taken DWAPI as a source and push a kind of a tool. So I just want to kind of correct that particular notion. It is also for data cleaning and to help you improve the local data quality at your place of work. So we'll see that later. DWAPI can be installed on different environments. So DWAPI can be installed on Windows, on a Windows machine, and Leon will be telling us which version of Windows to install it on. And also for the facilities that are running Kenya EMR, the facilities that are using Ubuntu, you can also install DWAPI on Ubuntu using a container, and that container is called Docker. So if you look at some of the capacity building resources that are online, you'll find that there are some materials talking about installing DWAPI on Docker, and some materials talking about installing DWAPI on Windows. So those are two different processes, two different platforms, same DWAPI. Once you install it and configure it well, it does the same particular function. So ideally, at the end of this session now, I think our expectation from our end, one, we'll be taking this team through the installation, setup, configuration of DWAPI, and also we'll also be explaining some other functionalities, like I've already stated, the data validation functionalities of DWAPI, and also we'll show you how to upload data into the National Data Warehouse using this tool. And lastly, we'll show you how to confirm that the data that you've uploaded is actually in the National Data Warehouse using the spot. So we'll talk about all of those. So at this point, I think we need to just get the ball rolling. So like I stated earlier, we are not going to have everyone doing the installation themselves, but we are going to just do it from our end as you watch. If you have any question, please use the chat section and ask the question. We'll be responding on the fly, or you can raise up your hand so then we can hear your question and then respond to you appropriately. So Leon, if you are ready, maybe you could just take it up and maybe start taking us through the installation process. And before that, maybe you could take us through the prerequisites before someone installs DWAPI. Welcome, Leon.
Yes, thank you so much, Bernard. I hope you can hear me. Can someone confirm if they can hear me?
I can hear you. I can hear you, so I'm confirming on their behalf.
Okay. So, thank you, guys. I'm just going to take you through what we need to install DWAPI. So, first of all, as Bernard has said, we'll be showing you how to install DWAPI on both platforms. So I'm going to start with installing DWAPI on Windows. So for DWAPI to run on your Windows machine, first of all, you need to be having .NET. DWAPI is a .NET application, so you need to have .NET installed in your Windows.NET or Microsoft.NET installed in your Windows machine. And the versions of .NET that you need to have is, you need first of all to have Microsoft.NET hosting version 2.8. I'm just going to type them down in the chat area. So you'll need Microsoft.NET hosting version 2.8 and above. You will also need Microsoft.NET runtime properties, and you will also need Microsoft.NET version 4.7.2. When you just go to Google and Google Microsoft.NET 4.7.2, you will be redirected to the Microsoft .NET download pages, and you can get all of this free. Another thing that you need to be running, the operating system that you need to be running should be Windows 10. Windows 10, preferably 64-bit. So the reason we are saying Windows 10, that is Windows 10 and above. For Windows, I think we have information that Microsoft is no longer supporting Windows 7. So Windows 7 is out of date. Windows 8 has an issue with the installation of .NET. So if you're running Windows 8, you are unable to install .NET applications, and that's why we prefer to do it on Microsoft's operating system, Windows 10 64-bit. So those are the prerequisites. I'm just, don't worry about them. I'll post them on the chat so that everybody can at least have a look at them. So once you're done with the prerequisites, there is one more thing that you also need to have.
Leon.
You need to have SQL Server. Hello?
Leon.
Yes.
Sorry for the interruption. I don't know whether you are sharing a screen or not.
Yes, I'll share my screen in a few. I'm sharing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Finally, apart from the .NET, apart from the .NET prerequisites, you also need to be having SQL Server, and we encourage guys to be having the latest version of SQL Server, that is Microsoft SQL Server version 2017. So those are all the prerequisites that you need, but I'll be posting them on the chat. So once you have all this, you also need the DWAPI installation, the application installation. I had put it on the chat earlier. If you just go through the chat, you'll see a link from me where you can download DWAPI. If you don't have DWAPI on your machine, if you go through the chat, there is a link where you can easily follow that link and download the version of the latest version of DWAPI. So I'll be sharing, let me just share my screen. You can see my screen, eh?
Yes, we can see.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
Now, for my machine, I've already installed all the prerequisites. So the only thing that is remaining is installation of DWAPI. So the prerequisites take some time. So I'm going to take you through the installation and configuration of DWAPI. So once you download DWAPI, it's an exe file. This is how it looks like. Just right click and run as administrator. For the installation, say yes. So the DWAPI version that I want to install is it's an earlier version. It's not the latest version. So before I do the installation, I will get a prompt notifying me that there is a newer version of DWAPI, and would I like to download it and install it. So at the moment, I'm not going to install the latest version. I'm just going to use the older version, and we will go through the process of upgrading DWAPI. So the reason why I'm going to install the older version is that we can have a chance to see how upgrading of DWAPI to the latest version is. So I'll just say no. And that's it. If you can see, it is giving me an alert for the older versions of the Kenya EMR. So for these versions of DWAPI, these are the HIS products that it's compatible with. So I hope I'm not going too fast. Nikienda haraka sana mtaniambia. Okay, so the installation process is quite easy. It's just next click movement. So I'll just select next. It will tell me welcome to DWAPI Setup Wizard. Next. It will give me the location in which DWAPI is going to be installed. This location is quite important. You need to know this location because it will help you during troubleshooting of DWAPI. So it's drive C, program files 86, a folder known as Palladium group.
Leon.
And yes.
You can't see your screen. On your next processes, we only see the DWAPI training.
Oh, you can see. Okay, just a minute.
It's okay now, Leon.
Now it's okay, yeah? Okay. So I'll go next. So it will give you, this is what I was talking about, the location, the file location, folder location where DWAPI will be installed. I was saying you need to know where this is so that you're able to troubleshoot DWAPI. All the logs of DWAPI will be saved inside this folder. So you need to know where this is. So I'll go next, and once I'm here, it will just prompt me to install. So I'll just install and sit back and wait. So once it's done, you can click on finish and you're done. So once DWAPI is installed, you will get the DWAPI icon on your on your desktop. So we have two icons here. We have DWAPI and we have update DWAPI. These two. So for me to launch DWAPI, I will just double click on DWAPI. Can you see my screen?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
But it's, the site can
So
provide secure connection.
yeah, no problem. So for me to launch, let me just do that again. I just double click on DWAPI and it will redirect me to the DWAPI page. So this is how this is the home page or landing page for DWAPI. This is how it looks like. This is the URL, and for the version, this is DWAPI version. I'm scrolling down. This is DWAPI version 2.4.1. So this is where you know the version of DWAPI that you're running. And this is just the home page where we are going to do the configurations and the connections, database connections to the EMR. So that is the installation part. I hope I wasn't too fast. Tuko pamoja. It is not hard. It's quite simple. Now I'm just going to take you through the upgrading process of DWAPI so that we can start working with the latest version of DWAPI. So once a new version of DWAPI is released, to update the DWAPI version that you have. So for me to update DWAPI, I come here and click on the update DWAPI icon. Double click on it. It will check for updates. It will inform me that there is an update and this is the size. And I will click on next. So what you need to know is that when you're updating DWAPI, you need to be connected to the internet, because you will need to download the latest version of DWAPI and you need internet to do the download. So anytime that you are updating to the latest version of DWAPI, you need your internet up and running. It should be stable so that you can be able to download the latest version and install it. It doesn't take long depending on the speed and stability of your internet. It's around 11, let's say 12 MB, and downloads by itself. It's almost done. Once the download is done, now you can be able to install it. It will give you a prompt for installation. So last clip, yes. Okay, so we are back here. So this is the latest version of DWAPI, and the version of DWAPI is compatible with the following versions of EMR. So for Kenya EMR, we have version 17.1.0, Zima 1.0, IQK, IQ2 is Afya Mobile. So if you have the latest version of DWAPI, but your EMR is not updated to the latest version, you will hit a snag while trying to upload data to the national data warehouse. So at any time, you need to make sure that the EMR version and the DWAPI version are compatible. If they are not, you won't be able to send data to the national data warehouse. So it's still the same process. Next. Next. It still give you the file path where DWAPI is going to be installed. Next. And install. Yes, it's just telling you that it needs to update and restart the service. Say okay. Okay. So the update process does not take long. Once it's done, you click on finish and you're good to go. Now, once you're done with the installation, with the upgrade, once you're done with the upgrade process, I'm assuming that you are going to be upgrading DWAPI once a new version of DWAPI has come out. So there will be a previous version of DWAPI which is running on your machine. So the first thing immediately after upgrade, before you do the configurations, anything else, this is just for the upgrade, not for the new installations. You need to drop the previous DWAPI database, and so that DWAPI can be able to create a new database. So with every new upgrade, we have made some changes on the application. So you need to drop the DWAPI database that you are using so that DWAPI can create a new database. So this is how DWAPI works. DWAPI, once you're connected to your EMR, it pulls data from the Kenya EMR database, then dumps or uploads the data to a DWAPI database that is managed by the DWAPI application. Then from the DWAPI database to the national data warehouse. So you need the application itself has a database of its own, and it's getting data from the Kenya EMR database that is running on Kenya EMR. So you need to pull data from the Kenya EMR database on Kenya EMR. Then the data is dumped or uploaded to the DWAPI database that is managed by the application. Now the application can easily access the data and send the data to the national data warehouse. So after upgrading to the latest version, you need to get rid of the database that was being run by the old application. So for you to do that, this is Microsoft SQL Management Studio. This is one of the prerequisites that we said we are going to install. Once you've installed it and it's running, I'm just going to connect. Yes, so once I've connected, there is an Object Explorer pane on your left with the drop down of the databases. So I'm just going to click on the drop down so I can see the databases that I have. So when I look here, there is this DWAPI database. So this is for the previous application. So I'm going to delete it. I'll right click and delete. Close all existing connections. Okay. So once you've, it's good to remember that anytime that you upgrade to the latest version of DWAPI, remember to drop the database because it is not compatible with the new application. And once you're loading data from the EMR, you will hit some snags. So I've already done that. Now I want to go, and we are done with the installation and upgrade of DWAPI. So the next step we are going to do is the configuration of DWAPI. So we said that if you want to access DWAPI, you just double click on the icon. Can we all see now the version has changed? We were on version 2.41. Now we are in version 2.44. This is the latest version of DWAPI. So we say this is the landing page for DWAPI. This is the landing page. This is the DWAPI landing page. This is where now we are doing our connection string settings to the database. So we said that DWAPI has a database that the DWAPI application manages. So first of all, what we need to do is to make a connection to the SQL server so that we can allow DWAPI to create a database for itself. So the database, you do not create the database by yourself. There are some queries that have already been written to create the database. So the first step is to make a connection to the SQL, Microsoft SQL database server, so that we can create a database for DWAPI, where this is the database that once data moves from Kenya EMR is uploaded to the DWAPI database. So that is the first step. It is here on the this is the dashboard, the landing page. It is the dashboard. So I'll start. The database provider, we have two options. We have MS SQL and MySQL. So since we are going to use the MS SQL database provider, we will select MS SQL. That is the SQL server that we have seen a few minutes ago. Then on the server, I'm going to input the instance name of my server. So let me just go back. Here, you input the instance name of the server. This is the name of your server. So how do I get the name of my server? I go back to Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio, and I'm going to click on this icon, the Connect Object Explorer icon. When I click on it, it will give me the login page, the login dialog box for SQL Server. So this is where I get my server name, the instance name. So this is my instance name. So I'm just going to copy it. Go back to DWAPI and paste it there. So the default port for SQL is 1433, and I'm going to input the user. So the user defaultly is a user, that is SA, and my password. So I'm done. I've done the connect. I've input the connection strings so that DWAPI is connected to SQL Express server. So just to make sure that this is what these connection settings are okay, I'm going to verify the server. Once you verified it, you'll get a prompt that the connection was successful. If the connection wasn't successful, let me just show you. And I verify. This is the error I get. So if you get this error, know that there is something wrong with your connection strings. So it's okay. Now, once I've verified the server, I need to save. After verifying my server, I need to save. Once I've saved, I'll get a prompt for a successful save. Then I'll be prompted on this yellow line up here. Restart DWAPI in order to effect the changes made in the system settings. So this means that I'm just going to restart DWAPI service alone, not the whole machine, not closing the browser and opening it again. I'm going to go to Windows Services and restart DWAPI service. So quickly, I'll just go to Services. So these are my Windows services, and look for DWAPI. Here it is, DWAPI client service. So once I'm here, I'll just click on restart. It is done. It has stopped and it has started again. Then I go back to DWAPI and refresh my page. So after you've restarted the service, DWAPI usually takes a few minutes to load. It's effecting some changes, including creation of the database that we had dropped. And for the first time settings for DWAPI, and just doing some settings and saving the changes, it usually takes some time to restart. So just keep on reloading. Yeah, there we go. So once the connections are successful, you'll get the matrix here with the dockets and the activities, and my server is okay. Now, after verifying the server, you also need to verify the database. This is just to make sure that the DWAPI database has been created, so that when we load the data from EMR, we have a database with that the data from EMR is going to save to in DWAPI. So I'll just verify database, connection successful to the database, okay, and save it again. So anytime before these are the first configurations that you need to do. You verify the database, save, restart DWAPI service. Anytime you save, you'll be prompted to restart DWAPI service. So I will verify my database, save it, restart DWAPI service, reload the page. Once the DWAPI dashboard shows up, I will verify the database. If it's successful, I save successfully. Then again, I go back to services and restart DWAPI. Yeah. So again, it is just saving. Yeah, so my server and my database are okay. And if I come back to SQL Server Management Studio and do this, just a minute. I just want to verify that the DWAPI database has been created, and you can see it is here. So once this is here, we are good to go. So anytime before you start loading, or you've just installed DWAPI, and or you've upgraded DWAPI, and you dropped the database, before you start loading data to EMR, you need to make sure that the DWAPI database has been created and it's there on your SQL Server. So the next step, we are going to look at the EMR settings. Now DWAPI is running, it's on a Windows machine. Now the next part is how is data going to be loaded from an EMR machine. Kenya EMR is in Ubuntu, and DWAPI is in Windows. So DWAPI needs to connect to, there needs to be a connection between DWAPI that is running on a Windows machine and Kenya EMR that is running on an Ubuntu machine. So for this to work, we need a network connection between these two machines. We need a network connection between these two machines. So what I'm saying is that for this, for you to be able to load DWAPI and send to the data warehouse successfully, you need to be on the same network. So for DWAPI and Kenya EMR need to be on the same network. That is the first thing that you need to be able to achieve. DWAPI and Kenya EMR are on the same network. When you're on the DWAPI machine, you should be able to access Kenya EMR. When you're on the Kenya EMR machine, you should be able to access DWAPI that is running on the other machine. So that is the first step. The next step now is on Kenya EMR itself. For you to be able to access Kenya EMR, you need to be, for DWAPI to be able to access Kenya EMR, it needs some privileges. So we need to go to the Kenya EMR machine, log into my MySQL, create a user known as DWAPI, give them privileges so that DWAPI can be able to access Kenya EMR remotely. So the next step is to allow remote access of Kenya EMR to DWAPI. So the next step is done on Kenya EMR. So I'm just going to take you through that. So I have a Kenya EMR machine with me here. Hope you can see. Yeah. So once I'm on Kenya EMR, I'll access the terminal. And once I'm on the terminal, I need to log into MySQL and create a DWAPI user. So this is how I log into MySQL. SQL user root and P. This is the process of logging into MySQL. I'll be prompted for my MySQL password. The password is, I input the password and I'm in. Now, once I'm in, I need to, because MySQL is the database engine that helps us manage the Kenya EMR databases. So we need to create a user in MySQL of whom which will be able, or a user known as DWAPI, so that the DWAPI that is on another machine, that is not, that is on a foreign machine, can be able to access the database and pull data from EMR. So we are going to create a user known as DWAPI, and that user, we are going to give him a password. The password is DWAPI. So we are going to create a user known as DWAPI, give him a password. The password is DWAPI. And after that, we are going to grant him privileges to be able to remotely access MySQL, pull data, load it into the DWAPI database so that you can be able to send the data to the National Data Warehouse. So this is the procedure of creating a user in MySQL. I will type create user. I'll put it in quotes, DWAPI. The user is called DWAPI. I've put it in quotes because it is a string. Then I'll give him the @. Oh, sorry. I'll give him the user group. I've created the user and it belongs to the I've given him the user group. Create user DWAPI at localhost. And then I'm going to give him a password identified by, again, DWAPI. So I have created these statements means that I'm creating a user. His username is DWAPI. The user group is localhost. Identified by, the password is DWAPI. So enter. I've created the user. The next step, I'm just going to add another user group. So I'm going to give him, I'm going to make DWAPI to be able to access all the user. He'll be able to access everything. Yeah. So just the same, I'm going to create user DWAPI at, I'm just changing the by DWAPI. So I've replaced localhost with percentage sign. Percentage sign is just, it means all. So apart from localhost peke yake, remotely also DWAPI can access this database. Oh, sorry. Okay, no problem. I think the user was already there. Sorry for that. So after doing that, I will say flash. Oh, sorry. After doing that, I'm going to grant privileges to DWAPI. So we said that anytime you create a user, you must give them rights. So we have created the user. Now we want to give him access rights. We have created the user. We have given him a password. Now we want to give him the rights. the same way in Kenya EMR, once you create a user, you must make them a clinician, you must make them a provider. So that is what we want to do right now. So this is how you do it. I'll say grant all privileges on to DWAPI at local host identified DWAPI with grant option. So this statement is just to give DWAPI rights, grant all privileges on star.star. This means all to DWAPI at localhost identified by DWAPI with the grant option. The grant option is just a privilege a little bit higher above all privileges. So after that, I press enter. Again, I repeat that. Say grant all we have done at localhost, so we also need to do at all, so that even the users who are not localhost can easily access DWAPI. Localhost just means any user inside the machine, but DWAPI is a remote user who needs to access this machine. So we need also to grant him privileges so that he can be able to access the machine from outside of the machine. Okay. So once I'm done with the granting the privileges, I need to save. So privileges. This is how you do that in MySQL. I will flash the privileges. Once I'm done, I'll just exit. And for the changes to take effect, I need to restart MySQL. So that is how you restart MySQL service in Ubuntu. Prompt for a password. Yes, it's restarting. It has restarted. So we have created the DWAPI user. We have granted him privileges, and we have restarted MySQL. So the next step, still in your Kenya EMR machine, MySQL has some sort of security measures that do not allow foreign users to access MySQL, and we need DWAPI to be able to access MySQL. So the next step, we are going to turn off that feature that does not allow foreign does not allow foreign users or foreign machines to access MySQL. So this is how you do it. It is quite simple. You need to access your MySQL configurations file and remove the bind address. So for us to access MySQL configuration file, we say sudo gedit etc mysql. That is the file path to the MySQL configurations file. And there it is. So once you are here, this is a very delicate file. If you touch any other thing, anything else apart from what we are going to change, MySQL will crash and you will not be able to do anything. If MySQL is not running, Kenya Emr is not running. If Kenya Emr is not running, DWAPI cannot connect to Kenya Emr. You will be unable to send data to the national data warehouse. So you need to be very careful with this file. And you come here, this is what we are looking for. Bind address. So what you come here and do, for mine it has already been commented, but for the facilities, this bind address usually looks like that, without a hash in front of it. So when you open this in the facilities or in other machines, you'll find that the bind address looks exactly like this. So all you need to do is to add a hash sign, comment. Instead of deleting it, anything that is commented in this file cannot be read. So you just comment on it so that the system does not read it, it disregards it, and save. We have said that the bind address is a security feature for MySQL that does not allow foreign machines or foreign users to access MySQL. So DWAPI is a remote foreign user that needs to access MySQL. So we need to turn this off. So we turn it off by adding a hash in front of it so that the system disregards this, so that we can be able to access the machine remotely. So once that is done, I come here and save. Once I've saved, I close it and restart MySQL one more time. Sudo service MySQL restart. And once this is done, I'm done with the Kenya Emr part. So all of this that we've done here is on Kenya Emr. Remember, we are doing settings for both Kenya Emr and DWAPI. So this is a one-off setting. Yeah? Once you've done this once, you will not, any other time that you need to load data to the national data warehouse, you will not have to do all of this again. This is once you've created the user on the database, granted them privileges. Any other time that you need to send data to the data warehouse, you don't need to go through this process again. It is just once off and you're done. Now, we are going to go back to Kenya Emr, to DWAPI. We are here. So we have already done the configurations in MySQL that is on Kenya Emr. Now we want to finish our configurations in DWAPI and see if we can load the data from Kenya Emr. So I'm going to we go here to configurations and we go to Emr settings. So under Emr settings, we will get all the EMRs that are compatible with DWAPI. And for us, we are just interested in Kenya EMR. So once you're here, first of all, you need to make sure that you make Kenya EMR your default EMR. Drop down, click on the drop down arrow, select default. Once that is done, we have this, we need to configure the database protocols to be able to connect to the Kenya EMR machine. So this is where we said that DWAPI needs access to Kenya EMR. We have created the user. Now we need to configure DWAPI with the user and the username that we created so that it can access Kenya EMR and pull data and dump it on the DWAPI database that is in SQL Server. So to do this, we have the EMR protocols pane over here. This, I'll just come to actions. You'll get this edit icon, click on it, and you'll get that page. So for the database connection, our EMR is using MySQL. That is Kenya EMR. It's using MySQL. We have two options. We have Microsoft SQL and MySQL. This is for the EMR. When we opened DWAPI, let me just take you back a little bit. Here, we had this. This is for DWAPI. For DWAPI is MS SQL. That is Microsoft SQL that we had seen. For EMR settings here, this is MySQL, MySQL, where we have created the DWAPI user and given him privileges. That is on Kenya EMR. So I'll start. The database management system is MySQL. And the host. Here, you input the IP address. Remember we said that the machines need to be on the same network. We need to have a connection between those two machines. So I need to So I'm going to give the IP address of my Kenya EMR is 192.168.0.106. That is my IP address for my Kenya EMR machine. 3306 is the default port for my MySQL. User, we created a user known as DWAPI. And we gave them a password, and the password was DWAPI. So I just need to verify if this is correct. If that is good, you get a prompt to tell you that the connection to Kenya EMR was successful. Then you save. Once that is done, you can go back, you head to dockets for the different dockets that you need to load. Yeah, I think we are done with the installation and configuration of DWAPI to Kenya EMR. So I'm just going to take it back to Bernardo Tieno. We'll continue from there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leon, for that elaborate walkthrough. And I want to believe that all the participants have been able to follow. So, Leon, I wish you could have just left your screen on because we'll still be using it. So maybe at this point, it will be good to just maybe give some chance to few people who might be having questions to ask before we are sure how to load data and how to send out to the National Data Warehouse. So anyone who has a question, you may just raise your hands and then you can ask. I can't see a hand. Does it mean no one has any question on the process? The process of configuring MySQL, the process of installation and upgrade, the process of configuration on Microsoft SQL.
Maybe I didn't raise my hand. Sorry for not following the protocols. Maybe to clarify the materials that all these processes, you really, for a new person, it would be difficult for them to have them on. Where can you access the materials?
Yeah, we are going to show you and even share the links where the materials are, so that you can even do it yourself. We also have video job aids that you can also watch and see all that Leon has done in video format. So we'll share those at the tail end of this particular session.
Okay, so maybe Bernard, you can continue as maybe the participants share their concerns through the chats so that we can review the chats and maybe reply through the chats.
Okay, so Otieno is picking up from where Leon left. There's been a question by, I think, Geoffrey on the data, mostly about loading data on DWAPI and how you can trace it back on IQCare. So we are going to come to that stage, but I think the thing to note is that using the 7 data sets that are uploaded to the to the data warehouse, DWAPI allows you to find out which ones are not meeting the accuracy error, the accuracy requirements for DWAPI, and you should be able, using the record identifiers, to clean it, like look it up, search it, and clean it up on IQCare. If you are able to complete it, you should update on IQCare, refresh IQ2s, and load DWAPI again, at which point those errors would have gone. So unless there is a complication, that is the generic process for this. So I'll let Otieno continue with the next step on loading the data. Thanks.
Yes, thank you for that, Juan. So having configured, having installed, configured, and setting up the DWAPI, it is now ready for use. So at the facility, this is what you need to see, whether at the facility or on your own laptop, depending on where you are setting it up. This is the screen you're supposed to see, and this means that DWAPI is ready to use. So if you look at DWAPI, you'll see several things, several features. So maybe I'll just take a few minutes and take you through what is there. We have looked at the dashboard where Leon has showed us how to set up the local database, the DWAPI local database. We also have DWAPI metrics on different dockets and the activity and the date. So this is kind of showing you when that particular docket was loaded and when it was sent. So then you can always see whether this facility has been uploading data or the last time they were able to successfully upload data. Then we have configurations. Leon has taken us through this, where we have the registry. You don't need to set anything under the registry. These have already been set for you. They are just pointers to the National Data Warehouse for various dockets, including care and treatment, master patient index, HIV testing services. So these ones you don't need to set, they have already been set for you. So under EMR settings, Leon has already showed us how to set Kenya EMR as default. If you want to send data from MRS, you set MRS as default. If you want to send from IQK, you select it as default, and then you make you make the protocol settings. So then you are able to source data from that database and upload it. So our focus is going to be under dockets. So ideally, we have 3 dockets on DWAPI. One is the care and treatment data. 2 is the MPI, the master patient index data, which is also helping us for the identification. And lastly, we have HIV testing services data. So you need to upload all of this at any given time. Whenever you are uploading data to the National Data Warehouse, you need to load and upload all this data from all the 3 dockets. So for instance, I'll pick from care and treatment. So let's see how we can extract this data. Extraction simply means you load. So you click on load, then we see whether we are able to get data into the into the DWAPI tool. So as you can see, it is picking data from Kenya EMR database, filling it in different data extracts, and now load successful. We are ready to send data to the National Data Warehouse. Now, when we had started, I told you that one of the key functionalities for this particular tool is not only to push data to the National Data Warehouse, but also to help you clean your data locally at the facility. So as you can see, we have various columns. We have the extract name. This is the data set that is being extracted. We have the status, whether it is being cleared, being loaded, and whether the loading is complete. Then we have the number of records found. We have the number of records loaded. Then we have the number of records flagged. We have the number of records rejected. We have the number of records queued to be sent. And finally, we have the number of records sent. So obviously, if you look at this, you'll realize that DWAPI is complaining that there are about 24 records under ART patients data set that have got some issues. So we don't know what these issues are until we are able to have a look at them, and then we see what is wrong. Okay, so that brings us to the data preparation aspect of DWAPI, where we do the validation, we do the cleaning, and we can also do validation where we have more than one record for one particular patient. So how do we identify these 24 flagged records? Because obviously when they are flagged, it means they have a problem as much as they'll be uploaded, because if you look at the queued, you'll see that the queued is equal to the number loaded. That means it will be sent. So any record that is flagged is just for to have a look at it and then clean it when you can. But all the same, it will be uploaded to the National Data Warehouse. But for any record that is rejected, it will not make it to the data warehouse. It will remain at the facility. So then you also need to look at the rejected records and be sure that you're able to clean them up. After every cleaning exercise, you simply reload the data. So then DWAPI is able to pick the clean version of your data. So how do we identify the 24 flagged records? So if you scroll down, you are going to see the extract details. So this is going to be the data validation I'm going to take you through. So we have to identify which docket this is falling under. So it is falling under ART patient data set. So we come down here and we look at that data set called ART patient. We click on it. Once we click on it, then we look at the records that were found under this docket. But what we are interested in are the 24 flagged records. So we click on ART patient validation summary. So ideally, these are the records that were rejected. I don't know whether I can count them on the screen, but if you count all of them, they'll come to 24 records that were flagged. And they were flagged because of various reasons. And that reason can easily be obtained under the summary column. If you look at under summary column, we have the patient ID, then we have the summary, which ideally tells us what is wrong with that particular record. So for instance, record for patient number 59, we are being told that the start ART date is after exit date. So I guess all of us understand that you cannot start ART after a patient had already left the facility. That it can't work like that. So as much as this will make it to the data warehouse, but you realize that it is not clean data, you need to clean it up. So at the facility level or at the M&D level, you can export this list to an Excel and share it with the facility so that they can clean their data locally. Or you can, if you are at the facility, you can go through this list and clean your data appropriately, depending on what is showing under the summary. Okay. Another error is expected return is missing, like the date, appointment date is missing. That is a problem. Another one is start date is before patient is registered. That is obviously a problem. So you'll find that different records are flagged based on different issues. You need to go through your database and correct those issues. Okay. So for you to correct them, you don't correct them on DWAPI. You have to log back in to the Kenya EMR and then fix it in Kenya EMR before you come back to DWAPI and re-extract that data. So I just want us to be clear that the process of cleaning data is very important. You load your data, you identify the data with issues, either flagged or rejected. Then you come down to the extract details. You look for that particular data set. Then you look at the validation summary under that data set. Then you identify the issues that are flagged there with the patient, with that particular patient. Go back to Kenya EMR, fix them there. You don't fix anything on DWAPI, you fix them on Kenya EMR. Then come to DWAPI, you extract data. So that is the process. I just want to make sure that everyone is able to understand it. So the option is that you can export this data to Excel. I can try exporting it to Excel. It is downloaded, so I can just open it. I don't know if we are able to see this. So I'll just have to share this one. Okay, so I think it is this one. So exactly, so this is the Excel sheet, the spreadsheet that has got all the issues. So you can take this, send it down to the facility, let them clean their data until this list is empty, then they extract. As we said, for you to clean it, you need to go back to the EMR and clean it from there based on the summary, column. Okay, so that is about the data validation. So let's see what happens with the duplication. What happens if you have more than one record for a particular patient? So for deduplication functionality, we have to get to master patient index docket. So when we click on this, we load data from the MPI. So I'll just click load from EMR. Good. So as you can see, the data is already loaded. So we could come down under extract details, and then we look at the master patient duplicate summary. So this particular tab will show us which patients are in the database, but are probably they are duplicates. So for instance, if you see somebody called Evelyn Nagehe, the system thinks that this is a potential duplicate. And if you look at the score, the Jarrow-Winkler score under this column, you see it is at 99% probability that this is these two particular records belong to the same patient. So we know what duplicate patient records do to our numbers. They can unnecessarily inflate our numbers. And depending on how many facilities are uploading data to the National Data Warehouse, we are going to have unnecessarily high numbers in the National Data Warehouse for patients that maybe don't exist. So it is a very important functionality, and it is a very important process for you to do to ensure that the facility is able to identify duplicates and then merge them. Now, again, as I said earlier, when you are merging duplicates, you don't merge duplicates on DWAPI. You have to look for these two patients, and then you use a merge function in Emr and merge the two records. So I want to make an assumption at this point that everyone is able to merge a patient in Emr. So then what DWAPI is showing us here is just identification of those probable duplicates. Then we move them, we move to Emr, and then merge those records. Once you are done merging, you have to re-extract your data. So then you pull the new set of data before you upload to the National Data Warehouse. Okay, so then, for instance, maybe I'll just take a minute and show you the merge function. I don't know if you think the screen. Okay, so I just want to give you an example on how you can be able to merge a client. So if we look at this particular list, we are seeing a patient called Pauline Jepto Chumo. So we can just find this patient by maybe using Chumo. I think Chumo is unique, so we can just log in here. So we go home, and then we find this patient. She was called Chumo, so let's just look for Chumo. So as you can see clearly, we have two Chumos. We have Chumo Paul Kipkoech and Chumo Pauline Chepto. So the system thinks that these are duplicate patients, but we need to find out more. So we can also search by Jepto. Okay, so how do we merge these two patients if at all it is true that they are duplicates? So it is important to know the process of merging the duplicates in Kenya Emr. So for instance, you will pick the patient you want to merge. Let's take, for example, I'm picking Chumo Pauline Jepto. I'll get to our profile. Then I click home and I go to data manager. Under data manager, there is merge records function on your left. If you click on that, it gives you a chance to merge. So you can select patients manually, or you can let the system help you in picking possible duplicates. So in this case, we know the people we are supposed to merge. So we are just going to pick 2 more. Then another 2 more who we think is duplicate. I'm not going to merge at this point, but I just want to show you. So if you look at this screen, we have 2 columns. So we are able to see the profiles of these 2 patients. Then we are able to see what is common and what is not. But the strongest advice here is that you don't need to merge a patient if you are not sure, because the process is not reversible. So that means you have to be 101% sure that these 2 records belong to the same patient. And you have to maybe confirm with your paper records, whichever data source you are using, to be sure that these 2 patients you are about to merge are really, these 2 records really belong to that particular patient. So don't rush to merge. Always confirm and verify that the patient you are going to merge, the records you are going to merge belongs to the same patient. Okay, so the second thing here is that Emr always merges patients. There is a lot of noise. I don't know if all of us could mute. For those who are not muting, kindly mute. Thank you. All right, so when merging in Kenya Emr, the merge function takes effect to the left. So that means the system will discard the record on the right. So if you want to retain the record on the right, what you do, you switch. There is a switch button up here. So then you can switch which column you want to retain. So if you want to retain patient 2, which is tumor-pollen chip 2, you switch it, then it comes to the left. Then you can now come down and merge. So in this case, I'm not going to merge, but that is the process of merging. Now, having seen the process of validation, duplication, and how we are able to clean this data. So the last thing is, how do we upload data to the National Data Warehouse? Now, for you to upload data to the National Data Warehouse, what you need, the first thing you need is internet connectivity. So you must have internet connectivity for the moment you are going to upload. So if you look at this particular screen, there is a button in blue written send to data warehouse. So before you use this particular button, ensure that your machine is connected to the internet. It will not work if it is not connected to the internet. That is key. All these other data preparation functions we've carried out, you can do them without necessarily being on the internet. But the moment you want to send data to the National Data Warehouse, you have to connect that machine to the internet. So that is, I'm just emphasizing so that we are aware. Now, I wouldn't want to send this data to the National Data Warehouse because these are dummy data. They are not real patients. But the process is just sending, you click send data to the National Data Warehouse, then you sit back, you wait for it to send until you see send successfully. So that is the process of sending data to the National Data Warehouse. So unless there is any question, that ends the process of data preparation before you send to the National Data Warehouse, and the action of connecting to the internet and sending data to the warehouse. If there is any question, maybe at this point I'll pause there and then respond to any question regarding the preparation, quality validation, cleaning, and submission to National Data Warehouse.
So Otieno, there is a question on why adverse events is loading count 0. Perhaps you'd explain that there are no adverse events in this particular facility, DB.
Yes, I
Otieno?
don't. That is very correct. Data we are using here is dummy data, so chances are that there were no adverse events in this particular database. So that's why it is 0. But if you are in a facility where where the database has got some adverse events, we are going to see a number that is greater than 0. So that is true.
Okay, so that ends the part for loading and doing basic validation on the DWAPI. I think we move to the last section, which is Q&A. So if there are additional queries, to go into the last section just to show you where the data goes when you load it, when you push it to the data warehouse, where it resides temporarily before it is refreshed to the data warehouse. Leon, you are doing that?
No, I'll do it. Leon is still held up on another call. So okay. The last bit is how do you confirm that the data that you had uploaded actually reflected on the National Data Warehouse. So we have a single point of truth, we call it spot, where you are able to view the data that you had sent and confirming whether the number of patients you had sent are the same as the number that were received on that other side. So I've already opened the page. If you notice through the URL, you can see the address. Feel free to access that page, data.kenyhms.org/4700. So this will show you the list of facilities that have already uploaded data, when they were able to upload the data, the last upload date. Like for instance, I can see Disciples of Mercy uploaded their data today, just 2 minutes ago. Okay, so you can search by county, you can search by facility name, you can search by partner. For instance, I want to see facilities that are facilities from Busia. I want to see when the last time they uploaded data. So as you can see from Busia, we have facilities that uploaded 1 year ago. That is Alupe. There is a facility that uploaded 5 months ago. That is Busia County Referral. We have Sioport 3 months, Nangina 3 months, Madende 1 month, Lupida 1 month, just like that. And then I think a couple of facilities 24 days ago. And then we have 23, then 20, then 14, 12, and I think the latest is Amukura, which did about 12 days ago. So this can be accessed anytime. You are able to tell how your facilities are doing in terms of data upload to the National Data Warehouse, and then you take appropriate action. The good thing also, there is an export function up there in blue. You can always export this data and maybe share it with people who need that data. So this list can be exported by just clicking export all. It will create a CSV file on your machine, which you can now filter and maybe share with whoever is interested. So of note also, I think it is important to note the number of patients that are uploaded. So for instance, if Amukura think that they have more patients than 1606, then they need to come back to the data that they had uploaded. They need to come back to DWAPI and check under all patients whether the number that was found is equal to the number that was sent. Okay, that confirmation is very key, so that you are sure that the number you are seeing here, the number of patients you are seeing here, is accurate. All right. Yeah. So that this is for care and treatment data. For HTS data, let me just add another tab. So there is a different URL for HTS data. So if you had uploaded data for HTS, you need to change your port number to 57. So let me walk you through this. For care and treatment, we have port 47. Let me highlight it for you. So that is the port for care and treatment data. For HTS data, we have port 57. Let me highlight that so then you see the difference. The rest of the URL remain the same. So I think in summary, those are the two single points of truth for care and treatment data and HTS, where you are able to confirm how your facilities are performing in terms of the data that they upload to the National Data Warehouse. So at this point, I think I'll stop there unless there is a question. I'll take it back to Ajuan just to maybe handle Q&A session and also define the next steps from this particular training. Back to you, Ajuan.
Okay, thanks so much, Otieno and Leon, for facilitating this session. I believe we are all better informed now on the technical aspects of setting up DWAPI on your Windows laptop, making the configurations on the Kenya EMR side, and as well performing the validation, just being sure what you are sending and then checking the same on DWAPI or on the spot. There was a question around what happens if you're working on a different platform other than